and we'll just dive right in. Here we go. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm here with two of my very good friends, Mr. Syl Area and Sara France. Hello, lady and gentlemen. How are you doing?
Great.
Just great.
Doing great. Yeah, it's a big. I know you guys saw the show notes. There's lots of cool stuff to talk about in it. And before we start, my apologies to the audience. I got some sort of cruft, hitchhiking virus or something that's in my throat, and it's messing up my voice. So if I sound a little Demi Moore-ish today, it's because of this. It's because I'm not feeling well. So, but it's okay. TWiP, the show must go on. And before we dive in, Sara, I haven't seen you in forever. What's new in your world?
Well, I had a birthday,
Happy
so we just
birthday.
finished celebrating that. Thank you. I'm a girl, so we don't actually say how old I'm. Actually, it's fine. I just turned 40, which seems impossible. Impossible.
That's
I asked
congratulations.
that they check my birth certificate because it can't be right. So, but it was amazing and great.
That's good.
Business-wise, everything's fantastic. We have, tons of weddings on the books for next year. I have two amazing photographers still working for me and shooting weddings under me as well. And life is good. Life is fantastic.
I love it. Well, happy birthday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the
Thank
big 4-0. Hopefully one day I'll be there. But
yeah, you'll wait. I thought I was chasing you in age. Oh.
Hey, I've rounded the block. I'm coming back around again.
You let me know when you get comfortable enough to, say your age. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Hey, at some point, let's just say this. At some point, I will be 50. At
Okay,
some
perfect.
point in the future, I don't know. It could be 10 years, could be 5 years. But at some point, I will be 50. All right, speaking of people that are 50, no, I'm kidding.
It's so true. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Are you 50 still? You're not 50, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, congratulations. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. That birthday card is almost 5 years late, Frederick.
Wow, that's great. You look awesome.
Thank you.
But I hate it when people say that, because you're like, what am I supposed to look like?
Yeah, you look awesome for a guy who's almost in the grave.
You don't look like a corpse at all, Syl. That's amazing. No, you look great. This is good.
You lie so well. You
hey,
lie so well.
10 years from now, we're going to be sitting here having a chat, and we're going to be like, remember when we were joking?
Yeah. Remember when we thought we'd never get to Syl's age? Oh, my God, we're close now.
I know it.
So,
all right, guys, let's so what's going on? But before we start, what's going on with you? I know you had that book come out, right?
Oh, yeah. I had Speedlight's Handbook's off to a really strong start. Really thrilled. Let's see what's coming up. Heading to New York next week for Photo Plus. Going to be doing 4 speedlighting events in conjunction with Canon at Photo Plus. So I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, any opportunity to go back to Manhattan gets, puts a big smile on my face.
Oh, I know it. You know what? I'm still on the fence about going.
Well, I'll be there if that makes any.
It does.
Any
that
difference.
actually, it does make a difference because I love trade shows, and we did a special episode where we're talking to the Photo Plus people and all that, and trade shows are worth it, right? I mean, they're worth it for the networking, for just the exposure and hands-on with the stuff, and then classes and the events and the parties and all that stuff. But then I have to, for me personally, I have to weigh. I have all this other stuff to do here, and to leave for 4 or 5 days to hang out. It's like the adult in me is like, no, dude, stay home. You'll get your work done. And the kid in me that wants to see you guys is like, go, man, it's only a couple days. Go.
Yeah. Well, be a kid.
I know. I don't want to grow
Just saying.
up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. All right. Guys, let's dive in. Actually, you know what? Before we dive in, I want to tell you about what I have going on. So next month, Sara France, for my birthday, actually this isn't for my birthday, but it's over my birthday, I will be in Vietnam. So I'm going on I'm spending my birthday in Vietnam. I'll be on this trip with Ralph Velasco, and he's a guy, he runs photoenrichment.com, and the name of this trip is Vietnam North to South. And we're heading to Hanoi, Halong Bay, Da Nang, Hoi An, and Saigon, and the Mekong Delta. It's like all over. So we're gonna be bouncing city to city, taking photos. It's really interesting. And the way Ralph runs these workshops is they're not like workshops per se. They're actually like, if you think of like Anthony Bourdain, and how when he goes out, he's like, experiencing the place. Think that, but with photography added to it. So it's gonna be a really good
That's
time. It'll be.
so fun.
It's crazy,
Gosh.
right? Yeah, yeah. We'll be gone. The dates for this trip are November 29th to December 12th. And if you want to go, he's limiting the trip to 11 people. He has one spot left. So if you want to go, we'll put the link in the show notes, and you can be that 11th person that joins. It costs $36.99 per person in double occupancy, or for an extra $4.99 you get your own room. And then the only fee that you pay is your airfare to get in country and out of country. All the flights inside the country and hotels and meals, all that is covered. So it's going to be really cool. I'm excited. And my first time in Vietnam, so we will see.
So cool.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right, guys, let's dive into the first story, and that's DJI. So DJI, actually, it's interesting that the story's in here. I had lunch with my good friend, Mr. Eric Chang, formerly of DJI. He just announced his resignation from DJI yesterday publicly. So he was DJI's director of aerial imaging. So he's still on good terms with the company and all that. So he was demoing and talking about some of the DJI gear with me. He invited me to his house. We recorded a nice video, which is going to go on TWiP. And one of the things we talked about was their newest release, and that's the DJI Osmo, which is kind of a handheld. Basically, they took their gimbal technology that's in their quadcopters and put it on a stick. And then, so that you can basically walk around getting this crazy kind of, 3-axis stabilized footage, but now everyone can do that instead of just Hollywood people. If you have an iPhone 6S Plus or 6 Plus, you have image stabilization in there, but it's not like this. This is like the real deal type thing. So I want to get your guys' take on this. Sarah, first of all, I'm excited to have you talk about this because I know you guys in the video space, you're always looking for different ways to up the ante and to do things a little bit better for your clients. When you saw this, was this something that you were like, you know what, I could do something cool with that for my clients?
Yeah, I think that anytime there's something that comes out that makes kind of things more accessible and easier and in a smaller kind of platform, especially when it comes to video, it definitely it gets my brain going of the different ways that we could utilize that. And I definitely think almost in your space there's a lot of really cool applications like with podcasting and stuff, because you can do really great interviews that look really professional that you don't need to carry a lot of gear around for now. You can
exactly
handhold.
What I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah, flip it around. You're looking at what you're seeing. You're talking to somebody. You're hand-holding it, but there's no shake. That's fantastic. So there's a lot of really fun applications to it, obviously, for personal, smaller videos. But really, from a business standpoint, it's like when they came out with the smaller drones, and you see those things everywhere. We had so much fun with those drones, just at the beach, having a day at the beach with our friends, and then on a professional standpoint, being able to provide something for clients that is on a really nice level for a really inexpensive product is amazing. I mean, we've gone through multiple drones, and really expensive ones that kind of weren't worth it, and really inexpensive ones that kind of didn't quite do the job. So I think it's really interesting to see kind of how the drone market has progressed and what's happening in that platform. But I think the product's really neat. I don't know. I think it depends on how much you're going to use it and how frequently you're going to use it, if it's worth the price point.
Right.
Clearly, but that's kind of the same with any products you
purchase. And it's interesting because in talking to Eric yesterday, you would think that these drones and the drone space has been around forever, right? DJI released the first quadcopter about 18 months ago, a little less than 2 years ago. The first one came out, and now they've got a whole product line of them, and this new thing, and it's been just a couple of years. I mean, it's just what space does that? It's crazy. So, is this something that you might see yourself using?
Well, I don't know. I'm intrigued with the whole size and the potential, and I kind of am visualizing. What could you do in a football game as the team's running out on the field? Hand this thing to one of the players, right, and just say run with it. And I think, I love this, that it breaks out into totally new territory. And I think that people are going to respond to this as much as they respond to drones,
Yeah.
and find ways to make images that we haven't really thought about. We'll put this camera into places that we normally wouldn't put cameras. And the price point, I'm looking forward to seeing some images out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But for the price point, it's pretty amazing technology, if in fact it does what they say it's going to do. And of course,
$650, right?
yeah, $650.
When I was looking at the page, and first, just like everybody else, I watched the video first, and then I read the page and looked at the specs. And for me, like Sarah, like you're saying, I'm like, okay, please let them have put an audio import on this thing so I could plug in a mic to it.
Right.
And they did. So it has a regular old audio jack in there. But in my head, I'm thinking, as I was reading the specs and all the things it can do, I was thinking, okay, maybe $999. Okay, $1,200 is probably $1,299 is where they're gonna go. And it came in at half that, $650. And I'm like, so Syl, my next question was, how good could it be for $650?
Did say it's 4K, right?
Yeah, it's 4K, but still, there are different flavors of 4K.
It's like saying it's whatever megapixel.
Yeah, we need quality 4K. But from the video that they had on their site, it looks more than adequate for anything that I would be doing. But still, you hit on an interesting topic. The fact that you can put this thing in different places and all that. The GoPro folks have been doing this for years, right? And they own the action camera space for all intents and purposes. There's lots of also-rans in there, including Sony. But there's, GoPro is the undisputed king/queen of the action camera space. DJI comes in, and this to me looks like a shot directly, not across their bow, but at their bow, And then layer in there that the CEO of GoPro he said publicly last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, that they're going into the UAV or drone space. So GoPro is going to go build drones, and DJI is building these kind of action camera-esque things. Do you think this is a Godzilla versus Rodan thing shaping up?
Whatever it shapes up to be, it's good for us, the photographers, because new ideas are going to come to market. And I almost see them as two different creatures. I don't know that I want to drop one of these guys from DJI into flowing water, right? That's the thing about a GoPro. You can dunk it, you can go out in a sandstorm, you can strap it to almost anything, and it's going to survive. Where I don't get the sense with all the gimbaling and the mechanics that the Osmo is going to be that resilient, right? Who knows? Like, you're running along and your guy drops it and it falls down a bunch of stairs. I don't know if it's going to stick together or not, but regardless, I love this idea that the concept of the camera as an image-making device continues to evolve, and with that, people's creativity, humans' creativity, puts these cameras into places that we've never really thought about. It's so beautiful to see the drone market when those guys are flying safely, of course.
Right.
The images that are coming out, and how many thousands, and maybe these guys and ladies were still shooters before, and it's like, now I can break out and put a camera in the air. But I also think that it's brought a whole lot of people into photography that weren't shooters before, right? It's a different kind of experience. And so, kudos to DJI for bringing this out, realizing that they were in a unique position with their flying technology to make ground-based technology. And I'm sure that wedding shooters, sports shooters, corporate industrial shooters, all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, we can move this camera in a really lightweight package and put it in places that we wouldn't dare put other cameras. And you know what? For $650, if there was a risk that the camera would break, you might take that risk on some shots where you wouldn't do that with a camera that's $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah, and I know Sara France would, because like she just said a minute ago, you've gone through how many drones, Sarah?
Yeah, well, we don't crash them; we sell them. But we tried multiples. I think we've only actually crashed one, and it was the smallest. So, but let me tell you, when you're flying around a $14,000 drone, it's not as much fun. You're like, there's so much stress, and no one will insure those things.
Wait, what do you have a use for a $14,000 drone? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you airlifting people from like?
It holds a 5D Mark III, so
Oh,
we
jeez.
wanted that like same format, same quality. So we did a giant drone, but it was just too much, to be honest. It was like you didn't want to just take it up on a weekend and get some cool shots. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Not
it
with that
seems a
kind of money
little
in the air.
seems a
So
little perilous too, because I can imagine that's a pretty big flying piece of blade flying around, in a
yeah,
wedding too.
yeah. No, if you crash that, you're gonna severely injure someone. We have a helicopter pilot who flies it, so it's
Yeah.
not. It's definitely we don't take that lightly. But also like DJI actually came out with a brand new quadcopter. I know we're not talking about that one, but that's a lot that has. I don't know if it's this. It's not this camera. It's the next generation camera,
Are
I
you
think.
are you talking about the one with the micro four
It's,
thirds mount on it?
yeah.
Yeah, the ZenMuse. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it is. That's the ZenMuse mount that can fit on the Inspire One quadcopter, and
Oh, okay.
it allows you to use a select number of interchangeable micro four thirds lenses on it. So yeah, so yeah, it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Eric and I talked about that as well because I was curious. I was like, so I read that that thing can take micro four thirds lenses, and I was like, okay, all of my micro four thirds lenses, and obviously not. It has to be a shorter lens, but
Yeah.
it's interesting how they handle the weighting problem. So when you're balancing a gimbal on a quadcopter, Sarah, as you know, it's got to be
Yeah.
balanced properly so that it can
Yes.
move effortlessly. The way they handle it is with the lens hood. So they have weighted lens hoods that go on the lens to counterbalance it. So it's like DJI
Oh,
specific lens hoods for a particular lens that when you put it on that lens and put the lens on the camera, it's weighted perfectly. It's like
so
brilliant,
awesome.
brilliant.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's always been an issue. You're like one lens for
Hmm.
your whole for what you want to do is obviously not enough. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sorry, that was a
Interesting
side.
stuff. Interesting stuff. Well,
Yeah.
let's close this off. The things that this thing does, so it obviously shoots stabilized 4K, but in addition to that, it's a 12 megapixel still camera. It's got a mode that makes the head pan 360 degrees for a perfect panorama, so it'll pan and take photos along the way. So for a perfectly stabilized panorama. You can handheld long exposures with this thing. I think Eric said yesterday you can handheld exposures up to 8 seconds. Typically three, but up if the conditions are right, you can handhold an exposure up to 8 seconds. Now think about it.
Wow.
That's like magic. Still, I mean, that's magic, right? I mean, in the old days, that was anything beyond what, a 60th of a second, or maybe a little bit longer if you weren't drinking coffee. Beyond that,
Too much or too little.
yeah, beyond that, you're on a tripod or you're stabilizing some way. Can you imagine a world where you can hand hold 8 seconds? What do you think about that?
I think it's, I just think it's pretty interesting that, this technology continues to evolve. I mean, part of me wonders what I would want to shoot for 8 seconds because, people, if they're in the shot, they're going to be moving.
Yeah, yeah,
So you think, okay, I'm going to be photographing things that aren't moving. And, it's like, well, why not just break out the tripod
right,
and,
right.
Shoot? I don't know. You
But
don't
it's
have to
nice
get
to
all
have.
up over it.
I think
Yeah,
it's nice to have just in case, if you're in a
right.
situation where, you know what, I want to get some flowing water or whatever,
Hmm.
you can do that.
Right. I certainly chalk that up, not necessarily an A-list reason to buy it, because there's lots of other great reasons to put it in your kit, but I certainly wouldn't, say, oh, because it has that, I'm not going to take it with me. You're right. It's a nice backup option.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see, you see a long exposure opportunity, and you didn't think to pack your tripod,
yeah.
and you haven't had the right amount of caffeine to hold it really steady. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at a new camera that puts the power of a DSLR in your pocket. All right, guys, this next story is pretty interesting. I got, I think, no less than 10 emails from people, friends, TWiP listeners, etc., saying, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? You got to talk about this on TWiP." So we're talking about it on TWiP, people. So this is the new Light L16 camera. So a new startup called Light, and this comes to us from the Wall Street Journal. A new startup called Light has invented a camera that it says will put the power of a DSLR in your pocket. Its secret magic trick is that it has 16 tiny cameras that all work together with their software. So it's like one of those, Japanese anime robots with all the, cameras on its head, and it looks like an array of 16 cameras, and they all do different things. So let me read this so that we can discuss it. So it says the L16 combines 16 lens and sensor modules of varying focal lengths, ranging from 35 millimeter to wide angle, or 35 millimeter wide angle to 150 millimeter telephoto, plus an infrared laser rangefinder for good measure. It will use a variety of these elements to capture a scene, then merge the collected visual data into a 52 megapixel picture. Syl Area, so first of all, the responses that I was getting from this from people of like that I respect were like, dude, this is the first time I've seen a camera that I want to buy. This is amazing, blah blah blah. I'm ditching my DSLR and all this, and I was thinking, I was excited too when I saw it, but then the curmudgeon in me said, you know what, maybe I should actually take a photo with it first. See?
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. And actually look at it on the computer and see if it actually works. So what do you think? Is this the end of the DSLR?
No, definitely not the end of the DSLR, but it's just a part. I think that, again, it's part of this continuous evolution, the continuum of what our modern idea of a digital camera is. I'm looking at it right now on screen, and I'm looking at all these, whatever they are, like appear to be lenses and things. And the first thing that I think about as an old school guy is, can I still get shallow depth of field, right?
Yeah, right.
Because it seems to be about the size of the current generation of iPhone and Android phones. And it's like, okay, so that's the form factor. What's the advantage? And, maybe it's got better quality. I mean, a laser rangefinder, I think that sounds pretty fun.
That's kind of crazy,
with, right?
Yeah.
But for me, if I couldn't get selective focus images really easily, if I couldn't say, I want to shoot this relatively wide and blur out the background, or conversely, I want to shoot it super deep. If I don't have those traditional kind of camera controls, then I start to lose interest.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about convenience. It's not just about having that camera in your pocket, but it's about, for me at least, still being able to craft an image that portrays my photographic vision.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's but still, I mean, I'm not poo-pooing it yet because it's a new tool, right? Who knows what this thing can do.
Yeah, so I feel free, Light, to send me one and I'll play with it.
I know. I think they have to build them first. Sarah, okay, a salacious title, right? This is the end of the DSLR. You literally put food on the table with your DSLR. Can you see yourself swapping, you and all your photographers into using something like this professionally?
No.
Why not?
I think I looked at it and it looks really fun and maybe a great point and shoot, but it's definitely still not the quality. Even if there are 16 tiny lenses, they're 16 tiny lenses. They're not typically from what I've seen, and again, we have no idea, but you can't get that same image quality from this tiny piece of glass as you can from the beautiful DSLRs that we shoot on currently.
Right.
So I don't think it's the end of the DSLR, but I do think it's a really cool looking camera. It seems really cool. I looked through the sample images and I didn't see the one thing I was looking for, which was really a good shallow depth of field, which is my favorite thing as well. Yeah. So that was the only thing I thought was missing. If it really can do a really great shallow depth of field, I think they should definitely focus on that some as well as one of its qualities. But I loved actually that they made it look almost like a phone in its shape and how it worked, and because it looks like somebody's shooting on an iPhone if you just glance at the video. Yeah, totally. It's not, you don't really notice until later, but a lot of the functionality and stuff sounds really cool, especially being able to have like a 35 millimeter and 150 optical instead of all these digital zooms that are out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of really cool features. I mean, I also noticed that it says coming summer of 2016. I was like, that's a year away.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Which
Gosh.
is why I said, show me the money first, you know.
Yeah, send me
Yeah,
one in a year and we'll see how it does. But it seems I heard a lot of buzz about it too. I definitely had a lot of my friends like, did you see that camera? Oh, did you see that? That thing looks so cool, and it does. It looks really cool, and it's
yeah,
a genius idea. It's just amazing. So I hope it really lives up to the hype because they're doing a great job getting the word out about it for sure.
totally, totally. Yeah, they got to keep that momentum going. You know, I was looking at
Yeah,
their
for a
tagline on their
year.
site. If for a full year, yeah, they better, rolling thunder, guys, rolling thunder. Um, but one of their taglines is high quality, not high maintenance. And that's I use that mantra in my dating life too, but it doesn't always work out. So now I'm
Maybe
gonna
you need
choke.
more lenses. Maybe.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool device. I mean, this and the DJI Osmo, it's just so for me, it's exciting to see where this stuff is coming. Like you look at that Osmo, and the first thing that popped into my head, or one of the first things, was, and you guys remember this. We were talking about how old we are in the beginning. Remember when your dad or whomever used to hold the video camera up and physically put giant tapes in there that would get eaten and remember that? Remember those days? And now we have a stabilized 4K camera that you can stick in your back pocket, notwithstanding your
Unbelievable.
cell phone that can shoot 4K as well.
It's
It's just,
amazing.
it's crazy. And it just, like this thing, they say it's a year away. In this business, a year is a long time, right?
Oh,
I mean, that's DJI has only been around for a couple years, and look at what they've done in a couple years. They're talking about releasing one product next year. So we'll see. We'll see.
I just hope all of this hype actually pushes like Canon to make it easy for us to take images off our camera and put them on our phone. Canon, listen to the words I'm saying.
They're not listening. They're not.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't know. Syl, you know the Canon people, so let's put you on the hot seat.
So
Yes,
come
me
on.
neither. Come on, tell us what's
Just
going on.
this morning, I read the press release about the announcement of the little EOS M10,
Yeah.
which has a built-in Android app so that you can send images straight to your Android phone. And I've got to believe, if that's there today, then in the near future, I would hope they'd have an iOS.
But Syl, come on. I got to play devil's advocate here. I mean, it's like, wow, they have a camera that can connect to your cell phone. We've been doing that for like 5 years with other cameras that cost nothing. It's
Right.
that's like saying, okay, Ford now has power windows in their car.
They do?
They're innovating.
They
They
do?
put power windows in the car.
Just don't bring Volkswagen up, okay? It's
Oh,
about,
yeah.
Oh, don't we have one of those?
Oh, you got the Smogmobile. Congratulations.
Oh man, gets great gas mileage though.
Yeah. Does it? Can you trust it?
Polluting the world.
Yeah.
Not good.
Leaving your little dotted line of smog as you drive around Southern California.
Seriously.
So bad. Those guys. Yeah. I have a feeling the Light.io people with this camera will probably live longer than Volkswagen. I'm just saying.
I hope that's not the case.
I
hope
hope
it's
that's
not the
not the
case,
case
but-
too.
What would the world be like without the People's Wagon?
So-
The world is very
What would
unforgiving
it
when it
be?
comes to that stuff, though.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a Swiss television station that has ditched their standard TV cameras to go 100% iPhone for their news broadcasts. Uh-oh. All right, guys. So iPhones may not be very good at photographing lunar eclipses, but apparently they're just fine for TV news broadcasts. A local news station in Switzerland has ditched their standard TV cameras to go 100% iPhone. The Swiss newspaper Le Temps reports that the TV station Le Mans Bleu has made the switch this past summer, and it outfitted each reporter in the field with an iPhone 6 kit for shooting pre-recorded stories and shooting live shots. I have a 6S, the iPhone 6S, and the video out of that thing, even the onboard audio, is spectacular. It is ridiculous. So I don't see what the problem with this is. I think it's actually pretty good. Why not? So what do you think?
Again, how many times have I said like evolution in this show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It just continues to push out the boundaries and the concept of what a camera is. I mean, it wasn't but just a couple of years ago that an ENG crew, right, electronic news gathering crew, would have a sound guy and would have a camera guy and maybe even a lighting guy,
Hmm.
plus the reporter on scene. And now the reporters are the ones that are carrying their own camera shooting footage, and then they lock the camera down in a tripod and
Why
do a,
not? Yeah.
do a talking selfie. So, travel light, travel fast. And the other thing that I think is really interesting is we continue to get more of our news off of mobile screens than off of HD TV screens at home, right?
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to look at images at small scale, we're going to be willing to take images that don't have the color depth and perhaps the focus precision and great cinematic kind of qualities to the frame. And we're going to say, oh, that's interesting, So I think this is the evolution: lighter, faster. Whether it's an iPhone, the light camera, the Osmo stick. I mean, all of the common thread here is entrepreneurs and engineers are thinking of ways to make cameras in form factors and with user interfaces that the big boys haven't really thought about or
Yeah.
cared to explore, right?
Yeah.
And then human creativity says, oh, cool, look what I can do. I can strap this iPhone to the front of my car and drive through Hong Kong or wherever Digital Rev did last week when they did their demo.
Right. Right.
Um, and so I'm not surprised. I think it's a really interesting platform. I will also say, though, that one has to wonder why an iPhone versus an iPad with a bigger screen,
True.
so that you
Bigger camera
can,
too.
so that you can do, if you're going to do real-time editing out in the field, uh, I would think that I'd prefer to do it all image quality and sound being equal, which I'm just going to assume would be the case,
Yeah.
that I'd rather have that iPad form factor, so I've got a bigger screen to make critical choices as to like where to do cuts and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
but I
think
wonder
it's
if I mean I don't know if I was running that news station, I wouldn't have my reporters editing. I'd have them, editing final packages. I'd let them
Mhm.
record the thing and then upload it, maybe put on Dropbox or something, and then have editors that are sitting there with their Mountain Dew go through and cut it together professionally,
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting.
Or
So,
why not get an Osmo?
exactly. There you go. Yeah, maybe they will. I mean, they did this before the
Yeah.
Osmo was released. Sarah, what do you think? I mean, could you see yourself doing like one of your high-end weddings with just phones? I mean, even I mean, notwithstanding the shallow depth of field shots, but even like second
Right.
shooter pickup shots and party
For
shots and all
wedding.
that, could you?
No, it's still not the same, I think. There's that comfort in knowing you're going to hit the trigger and it's going to work. I mean, the majority of the time.
Yeah.
But and just knowing like your gear and the lighting, and I take pictures with people's iPhones at weddings all the time
Yeah.
because it's like one for me, one for you.
Right.
Everybody's
Right.
like, "We take one with my phone." And there's definitely no quality difference. Although I think that it's fantastic that people are able to see the images, share the images. We're still trying to beat the bride to updating her profile photo with somebody else's iPhone photo and not our professional shot. So
Oh
there's
no.
always that, like, what I need is speed, the speed that everyone has behind the using the iPhone, and the convenience, and
Yeah.
that's what the big guys need to not even figure out. It's the technology is there, just
It's
do
here.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Help us out.
Yeah, all the tools are here for us to do some crazy stuff. But yeah, news
Yeah.
gathering, journalism itself, as we've been talking about over the last couple of years, has shifted with all this new
Yeah.
technology and fast. Like, remember we
Yeah.
talked about the Chicago Sun-Times laying everybody off because they wanted to replace their photographers with reporters equipped with cell phones too. So, and that was for newspaper photography. And we're talking video. So
Yeah.
It's
And a lot
brutal.
of times it's not even like the best that you need the best quality. People want the information. They want to
Yeah.
like know what's going on quicker. I mean, it's speed over quality, and that's a constant thing that we're constantly battling. I think as professional photographers in the industry is what's the best quality we can provide at the fastest speed we can provide as well.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up because I was what was it? I was talking to someone about YouTube videos and so I really want to get your opinion on this too. They were saying that professionally shot and edited and lit beautiful YouTube videos do worse. Actually, this was someone from YouTube I was talking to. Those videos do worse view-wise than your shaky, you know, cinema verite style shot. And the reason was because he said the shaky shot is much more relatable and believable than the professionally shot. Because the shaky shot, I feel like I could do. You can't really do a professional shot. What do you think? What does that do to the industry if you get a million views from shaky, crappy footage, and you get 100,000 from footage that you put $100,000 worth of effort into?
So, I don't know. I'm going to shake my screen right now and see if I look any better.
There you
Does
go.
that help?
Much better. Much
Yeah.
better.
Is that good? Is that too
Yeah.
much shake?
Perfect. Yeah, Google loves that.
So, sorry, I couldn't resist. I don't know. I mean, I hadn't heard that before, and I'm kind of stunned. But on the other hand, it's kind of maybe it relates to this topic. I don't know. If I'm looking how to make crepes, do I want to? I don't know. I think I get sucked into total slick production.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfectionist in us.
I'd be looking at going, look at those lower thirds. Forget about the crepe. That's a really, look at those motion graphics.
Uh-huh.
Look at that shot. They went right into the frying pan, and the camera didn't even wiggle. I don't know. That is really interesting. That, images that have that homemade quality videos are more believable. I had never really thought about that before.
But you know what's funny? The other side of that is homemade quality is changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now homemade quality is 4K stabilized.
With your Osmo.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, I did watch some video recently that had like really beautiful intro graphics.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of put me off, right? Because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you're making me watch your stupid intro graphics for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, put them up for a second and then take them away and let's get down to business.
Yeah. I agree, 100%.
So I don't know. That's fascinating. You caught me off guard for once.
Yeah, what's also funny and also fascinating is like on YouTube, you see these videos that have these beautiful TV-esque intros, rolling 3D graphics and all this, and then they go into the content and it's some crappy dude with bad audio.
Yes. Audio's king. You can have a crappy image, but if you got bad sound,
you gotta, everything has to be at least at the same level. Doesn't have to all be perfect, but at least make it consistent. I don't know. Yeah, this is crazy stuff. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into some listener Q&A. All right, it's time for some listener Q&A. This week's question is from Elliot McCrory. Elliot says, I own a Sony a6000 and a Canon 70 Mark II. I carry the Sony a lot because it's so small and has fabulous image quality, but my go-to camera remains the 7D Mark II. One of the main reasons that the A6000, did I say 100? A6000 collects and shows a lot more dust on the sensor. My 70 Mark II never seems to get dust spots. And he lists a few reasons for that. So his ultimate question is, how do I combat dust on my Sony? Sarah, what do you think? I know it's tough because you don't shoot this camera.
I have no idea. So I'm gonna ask a quick question. How many like lenses does this thing take? Is it like multiple? The A6?
Yeah, it's interchangeable.
In all tons. Okay. Well, I would say anyway, with any camera, the way that I reduce dust is multiple things. First of all, turn it off before you take the lens off.
Yeah.
Also, just make sure that when you are taking the lens off, and putting another lens back on that you're, try to reduce the dust in the area that you're in, just meaning like be careful where you do it. And also I tend to take the lens off and put it back and put a different lens on and make sure that the other one's ready. I know a lot of people will just sit there kind of when they're doing the switch out, and that's really when the majority of when dust is going to get into your camera either way. Yeah. So if I was working with the A6000, I would just make sure you're really careful about those things that in doing the switch out, or keep the same lens on throughout the day if it's just a shoot that you're going out and about and you don't want to take the risk. But I switch out lenses all day long, obviously multiple times a day, because I'm a prime shooter, so I literally am switching out lenses all the time. So I just try to be careful about how quickly I do it, where I do it, and it definitely keeps dust down in the camera.
Yeah, and if you're going to Burning Man or something, don't switch lenses at all.
Don't even do it. Don't even wrap your camera in a bag.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of protection or something there.
They need something. So, do you have anything to add to this? How can Elliot get rid of those dust spots or avoid them altogether? Syl Area?
Oh no, we lost him.
Uh-oh.
He's frozen.
Syl froze. No. And he's got a good look on his face. Look at that look.
I know. He's like smiling.
All right, we'll give Syl a chance to come back. All right, before we move on, and we'll let Syl answer this question if he ever shows back in here. But listeners, if you have a question that you want us to tackle on the show, visit us at thisweekinphoto.com. Click on that Submit a Question link and send us a question or leave us a voice message. All right, Sarah and Syl's frozen avatar, let's jump in. Excuse me. Let's jump into the picks of the week. This is a segment where you guys can pick anything to recommend to the TWiP listeners as long as it is somehow related to photography. Sarah, since Syl is pensively
frozen
thinking,
in time.
Yeah, he's frozen in time. What's your pick of the week?
So my pick of the week is these cool attachments for your flash that we picked up at WPPI last year, and called MagMod. Have you seen these? They're really awesome. So they are flash attachments that basically are just there's like a bubble one that is diffuser. There's another one that kind of looks like a claw, a big claw. But the cool thing about these is that there's an attachment that goes onto the base of your flash that has magnets, and then you just flop on the. Oh, there he is! Yay, Syl's back. You flop on the adjuster, whichever one you want. So the other cool thing is that they've got the diffusers and all that, but they also they have a snoot. They have a grid. They have all these different like color adjustments. So it's really awesome for switching things out quickly, because sometimes I'll say, oh, we should do this really cool thing. Oh, we don't have time for it. We're going to switch out all this stuff and whatever, especially with wedding photography, because we're just, on the go. But anyway, anytime you're shooting, I think convenience is key. So MagMod is a fantastic answer to that. My only side note suggestion would be don't keep them too close together. If we had a couple of them that like the magnets got stuck to each other and they're really strong on the adjusters. And,
I was gonna say keep the magnets away from your SD or CF cards.
Yeah, actually, we did some research on them. They have to be really, really strong to cause any issues. But
really? Okay.
I wouldn't worry about that as much as I would the keeping them away from each other so that they don't don't ever get them stuck together. They're very hard to get apart. But they're really cool. It's been a really cool attachment. We've loved them in the studio, and I really wanted to test them for a while to make sure it was a good product. But they are really fun, and you can. The thing I always loved too is you can still like turn your flash sideways and shoot with it that way. So with the kind of small side pointing towards the client, and then when you go vertical, just tilt it up. So it's just like an easy adjustment with the flash as opposed to having to go left and then right and then
I love it. What's the price point of this thing?
That's a good question. We just bought some. I should totally know, but I think they're like $150, $200.
Oh, let's see.
I'll
Let's
double
go
check
in.
that.
Let's
But
go look at
wait,
their shop right here. Let's see.
hold on.
Live. Okay, for the
Live.
complete kit, 229.95. So 230, and then their basic kit is $90, and then you can piecemeal it out and get whatever you want.
Yeah,
Interesting. Now,
really
Syl,
fun.
Syl, what do you think about this? You're the speedlighter dude. Like literally, you wrote the book on speedlights. Is this exciting for you?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting, concept, and it's a unique product, a unique approach. And as I recall, there in Tucson, which is where I spent 3.5 of the best years of my life, at the University of Arizona. I hope I have that right, but I think I am. So yeah, I haven't shot with them for a while, and it's if you don't have any mods, it's a great way to start. Pretty inclusive kit.
I
So
love it. I love it.
yeah.
Now, Syl, before you vanished on us, we were talking about that listener question. Basically, the question was, how do you keep sensor dust off of your
Yeah.
camera? Any thoughts on that?
So, well, hopefully Charter Cable will keep the connection open for the answer. Um, Sarah had it right. You got to have your go-to lens ready to go, which for me means it's right next to the camera. The back lens cap is already detached but still sitting there, and because I want to minimize the time that my camera doesn't have a lens on it. The only other thing I would add to that is I try to keep my camera facing down,
Mm,
so that basically I'm mounting the new lens straight up on the camera underneath. I don't know whether it makes a huge difference, but somebody pointed out to me, yeah, well, gravity makes dust fall, Syl, and I was like, okay.
yeah.
Um, and if your camera has even sensor cleaning technology that you have to activate manually rather than it being auto every time you turn the camera on and off, then do that. Do that. But Sarah's absolutely right. Switch quickly, be prepared. Try to find that dustless place, and when you can't, learn how to clean your sensor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can people clean their own sensors, or is that
Yeah,
once
that's
you
a
get
good
like a
question.
bunch of cruft on there, should you just like, I'm not going to tackle this. I'm going to send it in.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say ever since, way back in the like my 20D days, I had like, you know, no, they weren't even spots in the sensor, right? They were like permanent markers.
They're like planets.
Exactly. And now with the auto sensor technology on the Canon cameras that I shoot, I really don't worry a lot about it. And if
Love it.
it's not a good situation to change a lens, then don't change the lens.
Right. Yeah. Just be smart about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it says a lot about dust removal and the problems that we have with dust when there's a specific tool in Lightroom to get rid of dusts from your image.
Right.
So yeah, it is an issue. That's a great question, and great answers. All right, so we're jumping back into the picks of the
hmm
week. What's your pick of
Oh,
the week?
it's so easy. Let's see if I can get the box up in frame.
Ooh.
So this is the Canon 430EX3 RT, the new radio speedlight from Canon.
Mm.
And I was on the waiting list for at B&H and H and Amazon. Like Canon announced it in July, just as my book was going to press. So I had to very quickly. Fortunately, Canon sent me a prototype unit, a pre-production unit, so I could do screenshots. But this little speedlight, $299, brings radio speed lighting, in my opinion, to the masses. So you don't need a $500 600 EXRT on top of your camera. And I'll even go out on a limb. I'm going to do a blog post in the very near future on Pixelated about this. The navigation and menu system on this new 430EX3 RT, I mean, it's a super long name, but
That is on.
they took the tilt wheel on the back of the speedlight and turned it into basically a quick select mechanism for icon-based selections that pop up in the screen. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll go out on a limb and say that a shooter who wants to be really fast in radio speed lighting, who doesn't want to control the speed light from the LCD of their camera, they want to do it on the speed light, even a pro shooter probably should look at this speed light, because it will be a radio master. It can control your fleet of 600 EX RTs, and the navigation system is faster than the flagship because all the menu options are on the same screen rather than being on a bunch of other screens.
Right.
So I think it's, $299. You get into radio speed lighting. It's also, it will be a radio master, but not a Canon optical master, but it will be a Canon optical slave.
So this thing right now represents state-of-the-art speedlights from any manufacturer,
I
right?
think it does. There are a couple features that its big brother, the 600EX, has. This will not take an external battery pack, so if you're a wedding shooter, that's probably a really valuable consideration if you're a power user, right?
Yeah,
And
certainly.
you need that external pack. It won't do that. The head doesn't swivel 180 degrees to the right. It only goes 150 degrees, but I'm not sure that extra 30 degrees is, again, worth a couple of $100. If you're somebody getting into Flash and you're a Canon shooter, I have to say, I feel like I've just become the pitch boy for this, right?
Yeah. Well, when you love it, you love it.
I fell in love with this thing, and it's the menu system. It is the easiest menu system I've ever navigated on a speedlight.
That's impressive. I want to see that. You're gonna blog this and put some screenshots and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, yeah. I'll even do some 4K video from a drone, just because.
There you go, because that's the perfect use of drone photography.
Right, right.
But I have a question for both of you guys. So, speaking of speed lights, Sarah, you had the modifier, and so you have a speed light. Is with the popularity and the proliferation of these cameras that have super high ISO, low noise.
Mhm.
How relevant is flash photography? Is it becoming
Oh.
because back in the day it was like, okay, all I have is ISO 200. I need to blast some light in there in order to get an image. That's becoming less of a factor. Does it
Yeah.
does it matter?
Sarah, go ahead and
Yeah.
start, because once I start, I probably won't
I
stop.
know, right?
I know.
You listen here, Frederick.
I'm throwing gas on the fire.
Absolutely, it's important. I mean, controlling your light is a whole nother thing. Having Flash these days, for us at least, has become kind of more of a creative thing than just a straight necessary thing. It is necessary in some cases because you can't control where people are in a lot of cases for us.
Mhm.
And that they're have the perfect lit situation, but just because you don't have to have them in some situations now, definitely creatively you want them, and in a lot of cases you still need flash in most cases. We bring flash to, we don't really bring them as much to like our portrait shoots unless we're doing a sunset shoot, but we absolutely could for creativity. There's so many ways to use them now.
Yeah. So creativity, but in a pinch, using like say the Sony A7S, which with its insanely high ISO, if you're stuck without a flash or your flash batteries died because you have the 430EX2 and you can't plug in your external battery pack, you're still going to get an image, right? So you're not out
Yeah,
of it.
you'll get an image. So here's what I'll offer up. We talk about high ISO performance, which speaks to digital noise. What we don't really talk about, though, is dynamic range in our sensors. And the fact
Right.
is, even still, with the current crop of state-of-the-art cameras, you look at somebody who's backlit by the sun, and they have a beautiful rim light across their head and their shoulders, and you say, I want that. And you point the camera at them. Without flash, without fill flash, you're not going to get a shot that represents what you see. Just as a baseline, you're going to get somebody who's silhouetted. Here's the one thing that flash will do that I think that's really important to understand. When you shoot flash photography, you have now detached the ambient light in the shot from the light on your subject. So you can take, if you want to, as a photographer, we talk about photographic vision, we talk about depth of field and lens choice and all of that. If you want to build on that through your lighting and direct your viewer's eye to your subject, with flash, one of the things you can do is dim the brightness of the background. If it's being lit by the ambient light, you can use a faster shutter speed and then add light back onto your subject. So all of a sudden, as a photographer with flash, you're able to create shots that are unlike the way that we perceive the world. So, I'm not going to take anything away from high ISO technology. Believe me, every time a new camera generation comes out and I can shoot up into the stratosphere, there are definitely occasions where I'm really, really grateful. But I don't want anybody to think that, oh, because we can shoot, someday at ISO 1 million, until we get that dynamic range situation improved on an equal footing so that the camera will actually record highlights and shadows to the full extent that the human brain and eye can see them. But even then, when we can do that, when our cameras truly match human vision, flash, again, because we can detach the ambient light via the shutter speed and the flash on the subject, so we can detach ambient and subject lighting and basically build that into our photographic vision and say, I want to guide, in this really busy space, I want to guide the viewer to my subject and only reveal enough of the background environment so the viewer understands where this person lives or works.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounds like the common thread that I hear from both of you guys is, there's a spot for high ISO, but controlling your illumination gives you complete, pretty much control over the scene that you're capturing, and understanding how to use flash, when to use it, when not to use it, in a lot of ways can make the difference between making an okay shot that was okay because you happen to make a good exposure and a piece of art, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, see, I do that. It's what I do. All right, guys. All right, guys. Let's sign off. At the end of the show, and I made it, and I didn't die. That's
Oh,
amazing.
good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go cough in a minute. Sarah, what do you have coming up in the coming months?
Well, we actually just introduced, handbooked our first Dream Team package that we just introduced to the world. We're actually starting to shoot as a team, the three of us together that can be hired out, and we're now have our first wedding booked with that, so that's pretty exciting, and that's what we're going to be kind of pushing and doing kind of for the next few months, and
That's cool.
just want to do a few of those every year, which is just really fun to see the full creative team together, and a blast.
What are you calling that? Handbooked?
The Dream Team package.
Oh, the Dream Team package. Okay. Oops.
All three girls.
Dream. I'm putting this in the notes package.
Oh, Dream Team package, yeah. So you can have myself, Jessica, and Rachel, redhead, brunette, and a blonde.
Wow.
But really, the true power behind it is we all have really different strengths, but work really well as a team, obviously. And it's really just such an amazing package and treat to have three photographers with all very different, kind of very similar eyes, but at the same time, slight changes and slight differences. We called Rachel like the romantic. She loves the romantic shots. Really loves all the details. Jess is like our creative genius. She's just amazing with the creative reflective shots and backlit and all of that. And I kind of bring it all together to make the package just have all of the different kind of photography that they're looking for. They always say I'm the epic one. I'm always looking for the epic shots.
Nice.
And it's great. So our first wedding is going to be at the Hotel Del with this wonderful couple with a very large wedding. I think they're looking at probably about 300 guests right now, but we're excited to book more of those. We want to travel around the country, around the world, and we would love to take the Dream Team package on the road. So all my wonderful TWiP listeners out there, when you get married, bring us out.
What is that? What is that? Can you reveal the pricing for
Yeah,
that?
no, it's actually really affordable. I think it's really affordable. I guess it's only $7,500 for all three of us.
Oh yeah, that is really affordable. Wow. Okay.
That's a great deal.
Cool.
So.
That's half a quadcopter.
That is...
I know.
Now, do you use quadcopters during the Dream Team package? Come on.
We do use quadcopters, but they're not included in the Dream Team package.
Okay. Got it.
We can definitely arrange that if that's something they'd like.
Awesome. Well, Sara France, thank you for coming on again. It's always a
Thank
pleasure
you.
chatting with you, and happy birthday again.
Thanks.
Very cool. Syl Area, what do you got coming up?
So let's see. Next week, as we said at the top of this, we discussed at the top of the show, heading to New York for Photo Plus. I
Yep.
have a presentation, 2-hour presentation, in the event space at B&H, which is one of my favorite places just to be. And then every day over at the Javits Center, I'll be doing a speed lighting, 1-hour speed lighting demo, actually with my new favorite speed light, the 430 EX3 RT. They
Did you
heard how
sleep with
much
that thing under your pillow, Syl?
you know what? This little box just came in the mail 2 days ago, and I ordered it 3 months ago, just off the street, right? Like everybody else. And so it's been out in the wild since Monday. This is
And
the
you were
first
probably
week.
like a little kid when that showed up. You're like, oh, oh.
Oh, I was totally right, because the one unit that Canon sent me, they're like, well, the menu's been identified, the navigation's all there, you can shoot with it, but you can't show anybody the photos because it's a pre-production model.
Oh.
I was like, okay. So now this one's my very
Wait a
own.
minute. How would people even know
Yeah, I don't know.
where the light came from?
I don't know. It's but whatever. It's exciting that it's out in the wild. So I'll be demoing this next week in New York at Photo Plus. And then I don't think it's too early to say. I also recently videoed an intro to speed lighting course for Canon, and they
cool.
tell me that it'll be a couple months in production. So I don't know when I can really talk about that and say, hey, it was great. But it was a pretty big deal for me.
That's cool. So that's recorded, and they're crunching on it right now.
Yeah, so it's in post production. All the producers are probably going, why did we get this guy in here? Let's reshoot. Let's get somebody else.
Wow.
Nah. And so and then I'm looking to the spring. So Speedlighter's Handbook is out in the wild. It's doing really well, and I'll probably put together a select number of one-day Speedlighters intensives. Wait for winter to come and go before I actually head out to do that. Maybe I'll do a couple of events here in California in the early part of the spring.
Absolutely.
Me. I want to come. Me.
Okay. Well, maybe we can work on an event in San Diego, Sarah. So, yeah, I've never taught in San Diego, so I know it well, but I've never taught down there. So maybe we can collaborate.
Looks like
That'd be fun.
you have an invitation. It looks like, Syl.
You do.
Yeah.
Open
Maybe
invitation.
I can book the dream team.
Yeah.
They could photograph me while I'm photographing
And that would be
them.
2 redheads, a blonde, and a brunette. Then,
Right?
Yeah, no extra charge.
Yeah. We throw in Charlie for free.
I'm trying. I'm resisting.
You could be the Charlie of
resisting
Retro
commenting. You guys are awesome. I love having both of you on the show. It's perfect. All right, guys. And what do I have coming up? Like I mentioned at the top there, that Vietnam trip. We'll put links to that in the show notes. I would love to have. I think we have a couple of TWiP listeners coming on that already. But there's room for one more. Come hang out in Vietnam and help me celebrate my birthday. And I'll tell you how old I am in Vietnam.
Secretly,
yeah, over some beer. All right, guys, we're at the end of another episode of This Week in Photo. Many thanks to our sponsors for their support. That includes Backblaze, FreshBooks, Lynda.com, and iFi. And be sure to check out our website over at thisweekinphoto.com. And with that, it's time to take that lens cap off.